And now we continue with the coverage of another very topical story coming out of Enadale. The case against a 50-year-old father, Sosiso Emmanuel Shabalala, who shot and killed his teenage son, Oluyanda, has been remanded until July the 24th. Shabalala is released on a warning to allow him time to bury his son, who he shot allegedly by accident on Tuesday night around 9 p.m. at the Fred Norman Secondary School, where the 16-year-old was attending his evening classes. Judge Maggie van der Merwe says that the applicant handed himself over and has cooperated with police. According to a legal expert, based on humanitarian grounds, a prosecution might not follow. He says that this is if the applicant has submitted a plausible explanation and version. Shabalala appeared calm when he first entered the court before he broke down in tears. The state did not oppose bail. Now joining me to further unpack this story, we're joined in studio by Sanko Gauteng chairperson, Mr. Chris Malimacha, along with our reporter who's been covering this story, Sipha Gema, as well as chairperson of the Black Gun Owners Association, Mr. Abios Kwele, as well as our clinical psychologist joining us as well, Anele Siswane. A very warm welcome to you. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, we have to now constrict to compact our conversation. Let's start briefly with you, Sipha. You were covering the story. You were in court. Just tell us briefly what happened in court.
Well, it was a very tragic and heart-wrenching events that were happening inside the courtroom. I mean, when he first walked in, yes, he had a bit of composure, but the minute he got into the dock, he just broke down. And that's when his wife, who is the son's stepmother, also broke down and went to console him at the dock. That was a very sad image. And, you know, I think you wonder what could have been going through his mind at that moment when he broke down as he came onto the dock.
Yeah, and now tell us as well that there's been questions raised about why he would have a gun. Just tell us the circumstances surrounding that.
Well, by profession, he's a security guard and he's employed by the SAPS, but not to guard the SAPS, but there is a particular building that they have to guard and it's been outsourced to that specific security company. So that is also, he's licensed to have a gun, so he carries a gun. And it's our understanding that he was actually from his job when he went to the school to go wait for his son so he could return him home. And I mean, Enadale, the area itself, the neighborhood, just as the same day, that morning, a young 18-year-old girl was abducted by guys and raped, the same morning. So that goes and shows to tell you the level of, you know, crime in that area.
Now, let's include you as well, gentlemen, as well as you, Anele. We are clearly living in a state of fear in the country. I mean, this is just one of the incidences that we've seen unfold over the past couple of weeks. We also saw the little girl in Chatsworth who was caught in a crossfire of some sort, where she was killed during a hijacking. Let's talk about the need for us to protect ourselves. Are we now becoming a danger to ourselves? Let me start with you, Mr. Malimacha.
No, thanks, man. Let's take this opportunity to join thousands and millions of people who have expressed their sincere condolences to their family, friends, community, and the department, not forgetting to say province at large. As Sanko, we found it to be very difficult to really agree with the notion that guns are there to protect people. In many cases, the very same guns which are bought for nothing, they leave tragedy in the families. How many of people who have been claiming to have a licensed firearms, but when we go to the next door neighbor, if not into the schools, their kids stole those guns and go and shoot other people, if not other learners accidentally, as they can claim. The very same man that is claiming to have mistaken his child to be a hijacker, his first mistake was to get into the school premises with a gun. And there, as Sanko, we strongly want to know, and we demand answers, that how he managed to pass the security gate. Because there at the security gate, they should have taken the gun and put it safe so that at the end we saved the life. But what is transpiring now, we try to post as if South Africa is a very dangerous country where you cannot live without a gun. How many of us who are living without a gun? You cannot come and claim that, no, that is for self-defense. No, it was machine gun which is meant to kill. And we are saying as Sanko, We want a gun-free society. If there are people who want to be protected by guns, let's leave that job to the well-trained people. The duration of this training of these people is not enough. How if you claim to be a trained, you don't know what are you shooting? Obviously, you must be trained to shoot the target. In this case, people are missing the target, are shooting their own kids. In this case, kids are taking the guns they are going to shoot and leave agony in their neighbors. We are saying as Sanko, this must really be closed down. No one must have a gun except the police when they are on duty. South Africa can manage itself. The current minister, Begitele, is doing his best to say, return the guns. The police are well equipped. They will take care of ourselves.
All right, let's move to you, Mr. Khole. As the chairperson of Black Gun Owners Association, what's your view on this issue?
Okay, I was unaware of this situation until I learned from a journalist who confronted me and then told me of what happened this today. So, and then when I study everything, I found out that the gentleman was asleep and he was awakened by his child saying, "Daddy, I'm here." And then the only problem in this regard is that the gentleman was asleep with his firearm in his possession. So whilst you are still asleep, we are encouraging even all our members to put their firearms very far away from them because they are not in control of those firearms. If you are asleep, your mind, everything is no more functioning, and then when you are awakened, then you can do something very, very terrible. It's like sleeping with a tiger next to you. So we are encouraging our members, if you are asleep, take your firearm to the safe and lock it up. That's it.
Basically, practice safety precautions around your firearm.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to move to you, Ms. Adele Kirsten, who's the spokesperson for Gun Free SA. And I guess your take as well is no guns?
Well, data tells us and what the evidence is. And I think we've seen in a number of incidents in the last couple of weeks that, and I think someone else mentioned it, is that the very weapon that is bought to protect the family from the external danger is the weapon that is used to harm, and in this instance, kill a family member, irrespective of what the motive is. So, you know, I think for us, I'm interested in the Sanko position, but a gun in the home, a gun in a family presents a whole range of risks. And I guess part of Gun Free's role is to raise awareness for individuals, for communities, for families, to think very carefully about what the risks are if you choose to have a gun. So we would certainly call on government to be much more stringent about enforcing the law, and also being that a key focus has to be on mopping up the illegal weapons.
And I'd really love to further explore that, how these illegal weapons get into the public. But because of time, we need to move to our clinical psychologist, Anele Siswani. We're seeing people that are just living in fear, like I said, being vigilant 24/7. What kind of mental does this put somebody under, especially when you've got kids whose safety you're responsible for?
Hello, good evening. I must say that because we live in such a state where everything is around violence, everything is around hypersensitivity of people being killed and what we've been hearing happening. What I would say, what the sense it creates is a sense that people are becoming more hypersensitive to situations of trauma, because what you see happening is that now people are not feeling safe. And so that's why you realize that people are resorting to forms of having guns as a way of self-protection, as a way of self-defense. So the kind of symptoms or the kind of presentation that you see is hypersensitivity, because people are highly alert and everybody is guarded in trying to make sure that they protect themselves. But I'm of the view that that we really need to encourage other forms that are not involving guns or any form of dangerous weapons in the process of self-defense. And I also encourage the fact that the use of guns should be at the hands of those that are well trained, particularly those who are in the police and many other security organizations and departments.
Now, coming off from what Anile just said about exploring other forms of protection, let's just, as a last words, what other form of protection is there? Because we've seen the country lose confidence in the police, and they feel they need to take it upon themselves to provide the protection that we're expecting from the police. Very briefly, sir.
Thanks. I think in Gauteng, people are fortunately, because we have just recently launched our Gauteng Kulmamhlal campaign. One of that is to ensure that we've got a crime-free environment where everybody has to learn to respect one another's rights. That is the only way we can start there. Once we are able to respect one another's rights, there's no need for violence. Because whether you can say people must go and train for karate is not going to assist. Also a violence. We cannot say people have dongi pili. That is a traditional weapons. The only way is to understand one another's rights and respect it. So we have a crime-free society, non-violent for that particular matter. Then there shall be no need for guns and other things to defend yourself. To defend yourself against what? Because
many would feel that that is actually a pipe dream with the level of poverty that we're seeing in the country. Would you like to add on?
Yes, I'd like. Excuse me. I'd like to add on to that. I mean, I hear what the gentleman over here on my right is saying, regards to maybe respecting each other's spaces and privacy and whatnot. But if you look at the level of crime in South Africa, it's frightening. We were at El Dorado Park and they were launching the new drug treatment center with the JMPD chief officer there. And, something happened. Guess what happened? A drug dealer was selling right outside where there was over